Hello, my name is Jack Remington. I'm the director and host of this mini documentary, Racism in America Today.
I'm Lissa Giosi, and I'll be co-hosting this mini documentary.
Today we are at the Simi Valley County, California courthouse, where a certain jury trial, resulted in a storm that grappled the nation.
Let's start with the representative of our nation, the President, Barack Obama.
First story this hour takes us to the United States, where President Barack Obama has admitted that his country is still plagued by racism.
Racism, we are not cured of, clearly, and it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say nigger in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not.
Obama also said the history of slavery and segregation is, quote, part of Americans' DNA. The U.S. president made the remarks on a radio podcast on Monday, the president uttering the word, quote, nigger.
When questioned about Obama's comments, this is what another civil rights activist, James Larry Grant, had to say.
Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Grant. What do you make of the president's words that the country is still plagued by racism?
Well, he's absolutely correct about that. Yes, I'm in agreement with him about that. Yes.
What's the bottom line? What is the cause? We're talking about 2015 now, sir. Why does the United States still have such a major problem with race relations?
It has a lot to do with colonialism and white supremacy and whites being in denial, about this situation. We're captives here, and regardless what they say, because we're here because of the attack of Africa, not because we came here because we wanted to play NBA basketball. You know what I mean? And we didn't come here on a cruise ship. We came here basically because we were captive, slave trade. And to build, we were the first startup capital for America. So it's kind of, it's kind of hard to for the slave master and the slave to be on the same level. So they're like in denial with that. And two, they don't, no matter how much contributions we have made to this country. I consider myself a displaced African. Not an African-American.
So we just heard some of the reasons for racist attitudes against white Americans: colonialism, slavery, discrimination, unlevel playing field, prejudice, etc. Many people say that the racial divide between blacks and whites began during the trial of the 20th century, the O.J. Simpson trial, October 1995. Watch the reactions to the not guilty verdict by different people.
The bailiffs will have the obligation to remove any persons disrupting these proceedings. So would you please stand and face the jury? Mrs. Robinson.
Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles, in the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA097211. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime.
Charges. He is ordered transported to an appropriate sheriff's facility and released.
judge think?
They changed the whole tone of the trial from a murder trial to a racial trial.
It was so obvious.
I think it's the biggest miscarriage of justice, and I am ashamed to be an American right now because the guy is so guilty, it's disgusting. And that jury should be ashamed of themselves for that verdict that they brought in. That's all I have to say.
I think this jury sent a message that the time has come here in Los Angeles and in America that indeed there must be a level playing field for everybody.
I am hurting so bad for those families. I mean, what are they going to do? How are they going to live with this, knowing we all know he's guilty?
How will you have found out if he would have went to trial?
It is a case that has riveted America. Much more than just a murder mystery. It was about race, about celebrity, about wealth, and what wealth can buy.
And in pop culture, stand-up comedians also use racism as part of their stand-up comedy routine bits. Like, let's take a look at this clip from George Carlin from 1993.
And of course, the country is founded on the double standard. That's our history. We were founded on a very basic double standard. This country was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free. Am I right? A group of slave owners who wanted to be free. So they killed a lot of white English people in order to continue owning their black African people so they could wipe out the rest of the red Indian people and move west and steal the rest of the land from the brown Mexican people, giving them a place to take off and drop their nuclear weapons on the yellow Japanese people. You know what the motto? You know what the motto of this country ought to be? You give us a color, we'll wipe it out. We got it. So anyway, about 80 years after the Constitution is ratified, 80 years later, the slaves are freed. Not so you'd really notice it, of course. Just sort of on paper. And that was, of course, during the Civil War.
Racism is a business model for people like the Reverend Al Sharpton, who has made a decent living stoking the fires of racism among black Americans.
And then there's the Reverend Al Sharpton, the peacemaker. I have no words for him. Let him speak for himself. In an exclusive clip obtained from political consultant Stephen Marks, the Reverend is speaking at Keene College in New Jersey in 1992, specifically about police misconduct and the community's reaction.
I'm leaving off from the pig. Well, they got pigs out here. You ain't off one of them. When I'm leaving, I do. I'm off the man. Put in the crack and walk right around here.
And that igniting agent that sparked a racial divide between blacks and whites that all started with a videotape from March 3rd, 1991 that went viral.
Look closely at the beginning of this unedited version of the video. You can see King does try to get up and run. He appears to lift his arms before falling to the ground. It's this portion of the video that later impacts a jury's decision.
Blood's just gushing down the street. Felt death. You know, death wasn't far away.
What's it like coming here, getting down on the street, reliving this again?
I can't believe I'm alive to get down there. I can't believe I'm alive today.
King says the chase and the beating last a combined 15 minutes. 15 minutes of hell. He sustains more than 50 baton blows and shocks by a taser gun. But it's not over. Somehow, he has to find the strength to survive. As the ambulance rushes him to a nearby hospital, he begins to find it more and more difficult to breathe.
I was blowing the blood out of my sinuses and out of my mouth so I could breathe.
And that first trial of the 4 LAPD officers who were caught on that videotape beating Rodney King were acquitted. Less than 2 hours later, after those acquittals here at the Simi Valley Courthouse were read, the LA riots started.
Name's Timothy Weir.
Pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Is there a race problem in America?
Overall in America, I know there is in Ventura County.
Really?
Oh, of course.
Can you expand?
Just for what I see from working in Ventura County all my life.
Really?
I see a little problem. I think we're coming close to a civil war, actually.
What?
Oh yeah.
You do?
I do.
You're not kidding?
I'm not kidding.
You're
Between the blacks and the Mexicans, and I don't know how the whites fit into that, but personally I don't have a problem. I grew up real close with Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
I had real close black friends throughout my life, but I see the tension and hear about it all the time. I talk to people that have been in and out of prisons, and it doesn't look good.
And for these people to just use the race card as a means of trying to color everybody with a broad brush and say you're racist just because you didn't vote for Hillary. No, I think that's just nothing but a bunch of sour grapes.
Heartbreaking. You can walk into a restaurant and you can just say, okay, you're not supposed to be here. Everybody looking at you. You know what I mean? And it's all down the line.
That still goes today.
Still goes today. Yeah. They're not going to say nothing, but you can see.
I'm Jack Remington, and you are?
I'm Alan Salazar. Fernandinho Tataviam, Ventureño Shumash.
Relatives that served in Korea and Vietnam and World War II. My brother's a Marine. The only reason I wasn't a Marine because I didn't pass a physical because I've had. But other than that, I mean, us Mexicans, we have the most Purple Hearts in World War II more than any other race in America because we sacrificed. So for someone to say, oh, well, they're just fly-by-nights, we're not fly-by-nights. We've been here, we're concrete, we're here, we're part of the fabric of America. Well, I asked a friend of mine, he asked me if I spoke English. I said, well, you're Polish, right? He said, yeah, I said, well, you speak Polish? And he said, no. I said, well, I don't speak Spanish. How dare you think that I would speak Spanish when you don't speak Polish? People don't pronounce my name correct. If I can say Wiener Schnitzel, they could say my name, Frenes, Richard Frenes. I grew up growing, people call me Beaner and Spick and Wetback and stuff, but yet I was a fifth-generation American. But yet these people learn, these kids that I used to fight, they learn from their parents. So how dare they say, oh, well, we're not like that. But yes, you are, because your kids wouldn't have learned that without you telling them that.
One, I'm Native American, and I'm proud of both. And since I turned 18, I've voted in every election. I've never missed.
But as a Native American, how do you feel about the illegal immigrants that are now in California and the rest of the country?
I think many Native people, we get a chuckle out of it, but actually it kind of makes us angry that this is the time of the year, and the Shumash did the same thing. When the Spanish first came down the coast of California in their tall ships, they've been at sea for a long time. And we could have very easily, because we outnumbered them, killed them. But we saw that they were tired and hungry and sick, and that we had an abundance of food. And we brought them ashore and shared our food with them and helped them get strong so they can continue their journey on. Didn't turn out too well for us. And the Native peoples back east did the same thing. And America would be in trouble if our farm laborers, who are mostly immigrants, if they were to say, you know what, we're not welcome here and we're going to leave. It wouldn't be that difficult for them. That would be more difficult for us.
I'm from Philadelphia.
You tell me the truth.
You know what I'm saying?
You tell me the truth.
Yeah.
I can see you right.
Yeah.
I see it.
You know, because I'm from the East Coast, and you got Italians, Irish, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, back then, you couldn't go down there.
You ask your brothers, ask your cousins who serve in the military. Their best friends are Mexican Americans, their best friends are Cubans, and their best friends are black, and their best friends are Asian, where we don't make nothing without each other, man, and that's the truth, and it's a sad state of affairs that we don't think otherwise.
Are you able to answer any questions about Black Lives Matter?
I do not appreciate them at all. I think they're a troublemaking group. I think they're politically driven by their own racial bias, by their own hatred towards people like Donald Trump, and I think it's beyond ridiculous.
And with Donald Trump, they're voting for somebody who doesn't, he espouses bitterness and he espouses racial hatred, and it shouldn't be that way. You know, we're not that way. We didn't come that way.
Hello, my name's Ian Schweitzer. And I believe you have a question for me?
Yes, is there a race problem in America today?
I believe so. I believe they are, in fact, developing what I would like to call reverse racism, because most people from back in the day had a problem against racism when you were white. Apparently you were dominant, you know? So now people are turning it back around, and they're trying to say that now just because of whatever our ancestors done, we're being judged for our actions. So we're being treated bad, or not we, I don't like to, you know, put me as we, but, you know, people in this country are being taught to hate white people, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, you know, because most people who fought for equal rights in this country, they fought for equal rights, not to switch the page and turn it around and teach people to hate the other race. And that's what I feel like a lot of things that's going on right now, that people are just stereotyping and pointing the finger, and all this controversy is stirring up, and they're just looking for another face to blame or another skin color to judge. So, I mean, that's pretty much what I feel like, that there is a race problem developing in this country.
The more we stay divided, the longer it's going to take to get us in a position to where we can get things done and get things that need to be done, because we're too busy focused on this other garbage that really doesn't amount to a hill of beans.
And the cops cornered me, 2 of them, cop cars, blocked me off. I couldn't walk anymore. And I had my work permit because I was 16, and I had my work permit because in high school you had to have a work permit to do that. So back in 1986, and they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just getting off work, sir." "Well, you shouldn't be out here." I said, "Well, I'm just getting off work, sir." "Well, you're Mexican and you're brown, and we don't trust you. What are you doing out here?" I said, "Well, I'm sorry, sir, but I'm just going home." And they searched me, everything, and they said, "Okay, get out of here." And they laughed as they peeled out. They laughed, "Ha ha, get the fuck out of here." And they peeled out. So I've been subjected to that. 3 o'clock, I just got out of wrestling practice. I was coming home. Cops pulled me over because I had long shorts and a long shirt. "Well, you look like a gang member." I said, "Well, no, sir." I said, "If there was a white kid, he'd be looking like a skater. He'd be a skater guy then. But since I'm brown, I look like a gang member." "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm just coming off practice, sir. I'm going home. I live right around the corner. You know, I'm going home." "Get out of here." Peeled out, left me alone. After they subjected me to something humiliating, but you know, there's nothing I could do.
Absolutely. I don't understand people, you know, they can come to this country, and then when they get to this country, it's like they've forgotten the fact that it is a privilege to live in this country. It is not a right, it's a privilege to live in this country.
That they question my own kids that are there. "Well, you're not Mexican, you're too white to be your skin color is too fair to be Mexican." And that's how ignorant they are. That's where we're at now.
Ought to be solved?
Will be solved.
No, I do not believe that, because I believe man has a thing called a sin nature, and because of man's sin nature, you know, I just came from church myself, and so everybody that's born in this world is born with a sin nature, and because of that, we have a natural tendency to focus on all the wrong things, and I don't think the only answer to race relations is if you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the solvent for that kind of an issue, that kind of a problem.